Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I enjoy to be here, just arrived. And the first thing I learned is that Fitzcarraldo is going to be shown in its German version and subtitled into English. I didn't know it, but I think it's a good choice because culturally the film somehow belongs to Bavaria. It's a Bavarian film. People always said, are you part of South American filmmaking? Of course I'm not. I am Bavarian, and it's good that it has a more cultural authenticity. And of course, much when you look at cinema nowadays, or when you look at the internet, Facebook, or whatever it is, there is an absence of authenticity. There's an absence of something where you can really believe your own eyes again. And I always said Fitzcarraldo has to be a film where the audience can sit back and watch the film and know this is not a digital trick. It was actually in discussion with 20th Century Fox. They wanted to produce it, and they were very friendly and very open to this. And then discussion very quickly came to the question, what do we do with a ship over a mountain? And I said, yeah, I will build a ship, and it's going to be a big steamboat, and it will weigh something like 300-400 tons or whatever, I don't know exactly. And they said, no, this cannot be done. And they proposed what I called the plastic solution, a small, let's say 10-foot plastic replica pulled over a studio hill, or they proposed the botanical garden in San Diego. And I thought this was very funny. And they said, yeah, this is real good jungle there. And I said, what then, in your opinion, is a bad jungle? And they said, well, the Amazon, that's really bad. And I said, but I'm going to shoot there. And then from that moment on, the conversation became very frosty. They had called me Werner and were very friendly. From one sentence to the next, they addressed me with Mr. Herzog. We have to think about this, and of course I knew I was going to be alone. And as you can see, there's a lot of effort into it. It took 2.5 or so years pre-production. I had to build 2 ships, actually identical twins. In the film you see they appear as only one. While we tried to pull one of the ships over the mountain and we didn't know how long it would take, we moved the other ship around on the Amazon tributaries and did our traveling filming. And besides, we were not sure whether we would lose the ship in the rapids. They're the most ferocious rapids of the major rivers in Peru, and we knew it would crash into the rocks and might sink. But it would take you 1.5 years until you had a new ship. In fact, there was no ship wharf. I had to create a ship wharf on my own, and we had built a camp for about 1,000 people in the middle of nowhere, because the next town from where we were was something like 800 kilometers away, a town where you could buy a torchlight battery, or where you could eventually, sometimes you could make a phone call, but that was an illusion most of the time. So, and of course, the production itself was difficult. We had half the film shot with Jason Robards and Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones, and then Robards became ill and we had to send him to the States, and his doctors wouldn't allow him to return. Mick Jagger, actually, who played a sidekick of Fitzcarraldo, and I wrote this part out of the screenplay when he had to go to the world tour with the Rolling Stones. I actually knew he had to leave 3 weeks later, and having shot half the film, that's bitter, because you have to start all over again and start from the very first scene on. And besides, we ran into a border war between Peru and Ecuador, and my camp was attacked and burned to the ground, and we had 2 plane crashes, and we had all sorts of things. Every single day, an event of that magnitude. So the only one who really wanted to stay and hang on in, and we even contemplated whether he should play Fitzcarraldo, Mick Jagger, either Mick Jagger or me. But there was no choice. He had a stop date. He had to go on the world tour with the Rolling Stones. And I had a friend of mine in the camp who took care of much of the camp from former East Germany. He was a semi-illiterate who had worked in a tungsten mine in East Germany and had fled from East Germany. And he and Mick Jagger became friends. My friend said to him, Nick, good to have you here. And Mick would say, well, my name is not Nick, my name is Mick, like M, like mother, Mick. And Janu, my friend, would immediately say, yeah, Nick, like pain in the nick. And Nick, what do you do for a living? And Mick said, you know what, I sing. And Janu would say, well, that's a bad idea. You can't make much money with singing. Shouldn't do that. But then Jagger said, well, I also play the guitar. And Janu said, oh, Nick, can you pluck the guitar for us? And so Mick actually would pluck it after dinner. So we had pleasant and wonderful events there as well. The film is as it is. I'm glad that Kinski was available and could take over. In fact, he was the biggest pestilence on God's wide earth that he could imagine, but it didn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I always said to all the other actors who wanted to go on strike after 2 days of shooting, I said to them, that's all okay. Let him be as he is. Nobody can domesticate him, with the exception of me to some extent. I will make him productive for the screen. And he even has a lot of charm in this film. That's the only film of 205 films where he has some charm. And no, he's very sweet. He has very good, sweet moments. And so in a way, we are blessed that it was Kinski and it was not Mick Jagger who had to take the part, and it was not me who had to take the part either. I would have done it well and dignified, but of course Kinski is much better. So please enjoy the film, and maybe some of you will come tomorrow to this event.
Thanks so much, Werner Herzog.